Hi, I'm Johnny Lewis. Thank you for viewing my presentation, Meeting Student Expectations in the Classroom. We often discuss and assess students based on our expectations. We collect data about their behavior, their academic performance. We look at test scores and all those other things, but we sometimes fail to ask the question, how are students assessing us as educators? And so through the website Leaving to Learn, we find 10 student expectations, 10 fair expectations for students to have when they come into our classrooms. And we're asked to consider ways that we will meet those expectations. And so here now are my methods of meeting the expectations of my students when they're in my classroom. The first expectation that students have when they come into the classroom is that of relationship. They want more than a robot as a teacher, but they want to know us as human beings. And we already understand through our previous reading in this class that ethical leadership is relational leadership. It takes the time to get to know people and to hear their stories so that it can truly understand what the needs of stakeholders are in a community. And so as a teacher, I will develop relationships by asking each student about their life on a regular basis. This seems like a very simple thing, but it's a practice that has been highlighted as an intentional way of developing relationships with students, taking time to ask about their lives regularly and listening to their responses. The second expectation that students have when they come into the classroom is that the lessons that they hear and experience will be relevant to their lives and to their own experiences. When a student is thinking about geometry, it's very difficult, for example, to get them to imagine how the lesson may be relevant to their life. But if we ask them to build rails for a set of stairs on the front of their home, for example, or we hear stories from them, invite them to share stories of ways that they have seen geometry or experienced it in a variety of settings, we invite them to experience relevance of each lesson in their personal lives. Students deserve self-pacing and an awareness of their own time needs. Through my lessons, we use Canvas in my district, and so my students access lessons for my class via Canvas. I will encourage self-pacing from students by including at least one self-paced lesson within each unit of study in my curriculum, giving students the opportunity to explore curriculum, to spend more time with it, and being intentional about valuing the depth of study of my students instead of the speed in which they complete assignments. Students deserve to have a classroom that considers their own sequence and needs that fit them. And so within my classroom, I will include small self-sequenced units of study via Canvas for my students each semester. Research shows, particularly the article by Wong that you'll find reference to at the end of this lesson, shows that when students have the opportunity to self-sequence, they have a higher level of engagement and spend more time looking at the resources for their classes. I will meet student needs by bringing play to the classroom. Play looks different in different age groups. For younger children, it might be intentionally involving play or games on the playground. For high school students, like the ones that I work with, play may look like incorporating opinion explanations or activities, or creating response projects, story writing, that give students control of their lessons and allow them to play creatively with their responses to learning. I will provide opportunities for students to practice what they are learning. I'll create space for students. I teach a social skill interactions course. And so within my class, I will create space for students not just to hear about social skills or to be able to regurgitate information about social skills, but I'll provide opportunities for them to role play social skill interactions and to analyze by video or by their experiences with each other real-world experiences related to the curriculum. Choice. I also support student choice in learning by using choice boards to allow my students to choose their own means of assessing their learning. There's an example of choice boards provided in the article referenced here by Shoemaker, but choice boards are simple diagrams where students can choose one of 3, 4, 5, 6 different ways of assessing their learning, whether that's through projects, through writing, through traditional exams or tests. That allows students to choose the different way that they will share that they have attained the information desired in the curriculum. Authenticity. I'll encourage authenticity in my classroom by asking students to address real-world issues in writing or through project-based learning. Rather than making assignments heady or theoretical, I'll make sure to include opportunities for my students to use their learning to address real-life situations. Challenge. As a teacher of special education, I'm keenly aware that challenge means different things to every student in the classroom. Some students bring a gifted experience, others bring different abilities and are differently abled when they come into the classroom. The best way that I'm aware of to make sure that each student is challenged appropriately is to pre-assess students prior to beginning instruction. When we use pre-assessment, we understand what challenge looks like for each student, and then we're able to differentiate instruction for each of those students based on those results. Application. I'll encourage application via place-based learning for my students. For my students who are working on and studying social skills, one of the ways that we can do that after the pandemic is by adding an annual visit to a local restaurant. To consider our own human interactions and manners in the restaurant, our interactions with others, and then by assessing the work that we did and the way that we practiced what we had learned in the classroom upon our return. These are 10 ways of making a classroom meet the needs and expectations of our students so that they can learn in such a way that they are impacted more significantly and are able to practice and to display what their learning has been. The standard correlation for this lesson supports NLS 2 by reviewing research related to making the classroom a place that meets the needs, student needs and expectations for learning in an ethical way. This lesson is relevant and added to my learning by considering key models of meeting various student needs and encouraging awareness of a variety of student needs and expectations. This assignment will influence my decisions as a future building leader by providing me with knowledge of student needs and expectations and a variety of models for ethically meeting those expectations. These are the articles referenced throughout the presentation. Thank you for viewing my presentation.